Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The movie starts someone called Lee Young-noom, who is supposed to be the hero of the story. He's living with his family because he can't find a job, even though, back in school, he was the kid everyone wished to be like. Smart, mischievous, and an active member of the climbing club. He really had a bright future. Now all he cares about is practicing pull-ups in the street to the point where all the neighbors see him as the weird guy. Despite all that, he's still clinging to his past so much that he's cluttered the house with his climbing gear, and his sister cries and yells at him every day to get rid of that mess. But Leung acts like he can't hear her at all. Then comes his mother's birthday, and they decide to celebrate at a place called Club Garden near their house. But the truth is, Leung didn't pick it because it's a nice place or anything. It's all because his high school crush works there. And now, the opportunity presented itself. Or rather, the entrance to the place was right in front of him. Of course, he wanted to do what any respectable hero would do. He pulled a trick and went to talk to her. But she was very surprised because she thought he'd been ignoring her after she rejected him when he asked her out. But Leung laughed and said, "You misunderstood? I didn't even know you worked here. I'm in a managerial position now." He kept going on, telling her about the big companies he now owns shares in, and how his life and career have completely changed. The atmosphere was calm, and time passed until the manager decided to let the staff leave, so Leung and his crush were left alone. Suddenly, Leung started giving her too much attention, to the point where she felt uncomfortable and uneasy. Sensing this, she cleverly made it clear that preferred to keep things formal. Meanwhile, outside, things weren't going well either. Someone had parked his car incorrectly, and when he tried to get out, he broke the key inside the door. As if that wasn't enough, while getting out of the car, he touched something he shouldn't have, opened several valves, and strange smoke started coming out. This smoke wasn't normal, and anyone who stood in its path began to feel something was wrong, as if their body wasn't in its normal state. Within minutes, the mysterious gas filled the entire street, and the commotion reached the party venue. Suddenly, the cylinder exploded and hit the wall. People inside started to sense danger, and everyone began to run away quickly, their eyes on the strange column of smoke moving toward them. At that moment, Leung's crush realized this was no joke and shouted at people to move back quickly. Amidst the chaos and fear, Leung suddenly remembered something terrible: his sister. He rushed out of the building, running like a madman to look for her. He reached the car and found his sister inside, trying to open the door. As she got out, she stumbled and fell to the ground, taking a few breaths of the gas that filled the air. Leung didn't hesitate. He ran to her, picked her up, and carried her back into the building. But her condition deteriorated quickly. She was literally collapsing in front of him, and he didn't know what to do. By then, outside had turned into something out of a horror movie. The whole city had disappeared into the toxic fog, and his father still insisted they had to leave, yelling, "We can't stay here! We have to go!" Suddenly, all the phones and TVs turned on with an emergency message from the government. To all citizens, climb to the highest point possible immediately and wait for military rescue. Things got even more chaotic, and everyone ran toward the roof. But when they got to the door, it was locked, and the bigger problem was that the manager didn't have the key. Some people ran back downstairs to look for it, but everything was a mess, and panic was taking over. Meanwhile, the TV was on, and the announcer was saying in a terrified voice, "Anyone who must go into the toxic fog must have a gas mask. But be careful, the mask only protects you for 15 minutes, and you must cover your entire body because any exposed skin can be disastrous." The disaster got bigger and bigger. There were very few helicopters, meaning the Japanese rescue teams would arrive first, and if anyone wanted a chance at rescue, they had to make themselves visible to the rescue teams in any way possible. But here's the big problem. One of the managers stole all the gas masks in the place, and people started getting even more anxious, especially when they decided to go downstairs to look for the keys. When that manager heard about it, he suddenly changed his mind and brought back some of the masks, deciding not to go into the smoke. At that moment, Leung realized the door was locked from the outside, meaning there was no way out except to break the lock and get out. Without thinking, Leung shouted, "Bring me a rope, quickly!" Someone brought him a rope. He tied it around his waist, took a deep breath, ran as fast as he could, and jumped toward the roof of the building next door. Luck was on his side. He landed safely, but there was no time to celebrate. He quickly started looking for something to anchor himself to, but after a while, he discovered another problem. The rope ran out, and he couldn't move any further. If he tried to pull himself up, he'd stay stuck in place. He decided to take the riskiest step of his life. He took off his safety harness and decided to continue climbing alone, with no protection. At that moment, all his memories from his school days came back, when he was in the climbing club, facing obstacles without any fear. With his last bit of strength, he reached out and grabbed a statue in front of him with all his might, but then the statue's fang broke. It was a split second, He could have fallen, but with one final push, he pulled himself up and kept climbing, and after a few tense seconds, he managed to reach the roof. He ran to the door and tried to open it, and after a while, the door finally opened. He shouted, "The door's open! Get out quickly!" Everyone ran toward him, and in that moment, hope returned. Finally, they were in a high place, just as the government said, and a rescue helicopter appeared in the distance. The problem was, the pilot couldn't see them at all. The helicopter flew right over them and kept going, as if they weren't there. Suddenly, someone had an idea. They turned on their flashlights and signaled. Everyone started waving their flashlights in the sky in an organized way to get the pilot's attention. The light was clear, but still, the helicopter didn't notice. And they started talking about what happened. He works in a nearby lab. The method is possible, and he was the reason the gas spread like that. But all of this wouldn't have solved the problem people are facing now. The helicopter still hasn't seen them here. Someone came up with another idea. Guys, we have to use the speakers and microphone to shout and call for them, and also turn the place's lights on and off so it becomes a visible signal. And indeed, they started shouting into the microphone and kept turning the lights on and off quickly. And finally, the pilot noticed them. Things turned into a nightmare. The helicopter arrived, but as expected, it couldn't carry everyone. So, Yang decided to stay with Yuju and not get on, so the extra load wouldn't be a problem. The second helicopter just glanced at them and kept flying, as if they didn't exist. The pilot saw them completely and simply left them and went away. At this moment, Yang and Yuju realized there was no hope anyone would rescue them, and they had to rely on themselves. But as they tried to plan, they discovered the gas was increasing. There was no time to talk. They put on gas masks, sealed their bodies completely with tape so no air could get in, and ran outside quickly. They kept moving through empty streets between overturned cars and abandoned places until they reached a new rooftop. But here's the disaster. The gas got there before them. Yang realized that if he was delayed by even a second, they would die. He decided to use his last filter, put it on quickly, and went down while Yuju went up the building, trying to escape the toxic smoke. After a few minutes, Yang barely made it up and gave her a new filter. He was exhausted and shaking. They reached an abandoned gym, the only place without gas. They started to seriously think about how to get out of there. The only solution was to reach the rooftop next to them. Suddenly, they had a crazy idea. Why not throw the metal bar onto the rooftop we want to reach? Maybe something will happen to help us cross. Yang and Yuju started tying the rope tightly until they made an improvised bridge between them and the next rooftop. When the rope was tight enough, Yuju crossed carefully, step by step, and reached safely. Everything was going fine until it was Yang's turn to cross. Halfway, suddenly, things changed. The gas started spreading quickly towards Yuju's rooftop, and there was a big risk she'd be poisoned. Yang thought quickly and decided he wouldn't take the risk. He went back to the building and ran to look for a gas mask to save Yuju by any means. At this moment, the authorities finally discovered something very important. Ordinary water could neutralize the gas's effect, but the problem was that no one knew exactly how long it would take to work. Yang, who had now become an expert, thought quickly of a brilliant plan. He decided to arrange a group of statues on the rooftop so that if any rescue team saw them, they'd think there were many people trapped here and come to save them faster. But suddenly, they noticed something else. There was a large group of people trapped in a room and couldn't get out. Yang and Yuju tried to calm them down and told them there was an emergency ladder nearby, and if they used it, they'd be safe. Finally, one person decided to try. He started climbing the ladder but suddenly lost his balance. Everyone panicked, and chaos broke out. In the midst of all this, the sound of a helicopter appeared from afar. Finally, the helicopter saw them, but it was clear the priority was to rescue the trapped people first. Quickly, Yang and Yuju prepared a large sign on the ground to guide the rescue teams in the right direction. Suddenly, a huge explosion happened. A massive wave of gas rushed toward them, and everything turned into a nightmare. At that moment, they decided the nearby building was the best place to take shelter. Without thinking, they started moving quickly toward it. At this moment, a drone suddenly appeared. It belonged to a TV company. Yang's father had paid to send that drone. Without them realizing, their rescue operation was being broadcast live on the internet. People around the world started following the dramatic scene, and everyone saw as they finally reached the building they wanted and started climbing the vertical signs to reach the rooftop. But when they got to the top, they faced a new problem. The next building was too far away and there was no way to jump to it. Suddenly, the drone that was broadcasting the live feed broke down and the live stream was cut. That moment was tough. Yang and Yuju stood silently, not knowing what to do. Their only hope was to cling to each other, and they hugged to reassure each other in the last moment. But here came the surprise. New drones started appearing from all directions. People watching around the world began sending more drones. They started using them to push the gas away from around them and create a safe space. Yang thought quickly and sent a plan to one of the drones. The plan was simple. The drone would take their rope and tie it to the building in front of them. The drone did it, and the rope was firmly fixed to the building opposite them. They started crossing carefully, walking on the rope above the city. But suddenly, halfway, the rope started to be affected by their weight. The pressure on it became very dangerous, but the bigger problem was that the rope started to come loose. In the midst of the panic, they had the idea to cut the rope and fall to the floor below them. But at the moment they decided to do it, the drone that was helping them suddenly broke down, and they started to fall. That was the last thing shown in the live broadcast before it was cut off, except that the helicopter quickly moved to the last place they were seen. And then came the moment that changed everything. The rescuers saw a strange light above the crane. When they got closer, they discovered that Yuju had lit flares to attract attention, and that was the reason the rescue team finally found them. The rescue team rushed to help them, and finally, the mission ended successfully. At the camp, everyone was happy, except the manager, who at first was selfish and had a bad personality. He decided to wave to Yuju to show how much he cared about her now, but she slapped him. As for Yang, he went to Yuju and had with him the climbing tool they used in the rescue operation. Instead of giving it to her at that moment, she smiled and said, "Even next time, when we meet again." Suddenly, it started to rain, and the rain washed away all the remaining gas. And that was the end of the movie. This was today's movie summary. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next movie.